Hey YouTube, welcome back to my channel. My name is Dion and this here is chapstick and this is pumpkin pie scented and flavored. I picked it at random. This is only actually my first eyeshadow look since I had that cold. And so I'm sitting here like I don't know what it's gonna look like. What's on my face right now? Of course the Fenty Brow MVP. I have on the McGrath primer. Foundation, I wear shade M18, and under my eyes and around my nose area where it's usually red because of yeast issues and I have a cream for it, blah blah blah. But anyway, Estee Lauder Double Wear Stay in Place Flawless Break Concealer, and the shade is 4N. So that is everything on my face. We're going to prime the lids. I'm really not knowing like what this is going to look like, because for me, when I don't do eyeshadow looks at least like every other day, I kind of feel like, what am I doing? Because I was doing looks like almost every day. And so not doing an eyeshadow look in over a week. Today I believe is Wednesday. And the live I did was 8 days ago, 9 days ago. And so I am really just like, let me just sit here and just get back into the groove of doing eyeshadow looks. And so for the intro, I call this the crazy troll nation of YouTube. The crazy just enjoying your channel, enjoying your videos, enjoying the channels that you watch. The troll part is not caring too much about the beauty community's standards. Excuse me. You set the standard for yourself. Wear whatever you want to, however you want to, using whatever tool and technique you want to get your makeup on in a way that you are satisfied with it. Here it is about self-acceptance and self-love, embracing your natural features, enhancing them if you want to, when you want to, but never feeling like you have to. Love yourself for who you are and for how you look, even without face paint on. That's what we stand for here at the Crazy Troll Nation. And I'm still using the same Fenty primer, and I was scraping and scraping. I'm just refusing to let this go. But I know it is time, and it's been time. And so that's why sometimes it looks kind of runny and then other times it doesn't, because we are at the end of it. I didn't take the stopper out because when I take out the stopper, the primer I am able to get out of it, scraping along the sides that you see up here and here, is very dry, and it impacts the way my shadow applies and blends. And so I decided not to take the stopper out anymore, other than that one time before. So for the last part of the intro, I need to let you know I do curse on my channel sometimes, because I do curse, period. So we're going to jump into this look. This is only my third time, actually my second time using the Natasha Denona Retro Glam palette. And the first time I used it, I did one look on each eye, because looking at this palette, there's a cool side, well, cooler side and a warmer tone side. And so even looking at this one, this is a cooler version of that one. Looking at these two shades, this is a cooler tone and this is a warmer tone. So looking at some of her palettes, it's similar shades, just different tones, which makes it suitable for everybody, depending on whether or not some of the lighter shades may look dusty or ashy on you. And so I do understand what she did with this palette, but for me, I'm only interested in the darker tones, like these right here. And I did get this in Ipsy and this one right here. So some of the shades I liked on me and some I didn't. And my purpose in doing one look on each eye was to see if the shades were going to be similar from one side of the palette to the other, and they kind of were. And so I'm not really digging this palette, but I'm feeling these shades here and this one. And so we're going to just kind of play right here today, maybe pull this one, and I'm not sure. These two look kind of similar. We're going to put them next to each other. I don't like, excuse me, when there's dupes within a palette. And I think I might pull in the Xenon palette, which I purchased to have a black and, you know, a dark gray. This was kind of dusty on me, but I think we made it work. But anyway, and this is a nice silver. And I'm going to pull this in because I saw the sneak peek of the new palette that looks like a larger one, or a midi size of Xenon, and which means, you know, half the shades in it will look ashy or dusty on me, I think. But the darker tones, I'm like, that's my vibe. And so I had a boo-boo the fool moment. I may have that moment again where I told my accountability partners, you know, social media slapped me because I had a moment where I thought I might want the midi size of this one because of the color story. And my thought was, since I got this in Ipsy, meaning I didn't pay not even full price for it, it came with the subscription, to just keep these darker shades in this one and put the darker tones from the midi xenon, I don't know what they're calling it, and just make that into one palette, because even if I pay, you know, 20% off for the midi size, if I mix it with this, that'll give me one full palette, still less than full price for either one of them, especially because this one came in a subscription box. And I don't purchase palettes to use and to mix, and if I happen to mix them or pair them, you know, I do, but I don't purchase them with that intention. And so I'm kind of thinking, like, what's happening to me since I haven't been doing videos, that now I'm thinking of like different types of stuff. So I don't know. So we'll see what happens. I don't know. So we're going to take Jazzy, this shade right here, and we're going to put this on the outer corner. We're using mostly the Fenty 230 brushes. And so we're just going to see what this looks like with the darker tones in here. And I did have a thought to take out the lighter shades, but I don't like there being empty spaces within a palette. And that's what had me thinking too, if I get the other one, I can remove the shades from this I don't want and remove the shades from the other palette I don't want and make this into a palette that I would really like, and then just sell the other one with the shades that I don't want. But I am curious about the palette because it is dark, it is smoky. It looks like it might have like a blackened lavenderish type tone. I've only seen the sneak peek picture one time, and I didn't spend a lot of time looking at it because I immediately thought, you know, half of it is lighter tones that I don't prefer. So we'll see when it comes out and what it's looking like. And I think it might be one I need to see in store. And also I want to see what the finishes are. I love her creamy matte formula. I love her cream to powder formula. And it used to be where her midi sizes didn't have many of those formulas, but the last few years the midi sizes have been having those formulas in it. And so I'm like, oh, okay, because that's the formula I love. Some people really don't like it because they say when you blend it, it blends away. But for me, you see how I'm packing on, and then I'll go back and blend. And this is a fluffier brush. If I wanted more intensity, I would use a more dense brush, maybe even like the Hourglass number 3 brush, which is dense. It's still soft, but it is dense, more dense than the Fenty brushes. And so I use the brushes I use for a reason and for a particular look as far as how I want the shadows to show up on my lid. And so this is this shade, and I do like it, this shade right here. Looking at it this way, this does look lighter, but we're going to put it next to it just to see, because I'm not convinced it's that different. And I think I do still have the box, because I'm wondering what formula this is, the creamy matte or cream to powder, and it's looking like it's a creamy matte. That's what it's looking like in the pan, but I need to look on the back of the box to see, because it does say what each shade is and what the formula is. And so you see how this goes on and how it blends. Like, this is just really nice. I really dig it. And I'm putting more because I do want it darker, but then I noticed the brush that I'm using that it's not going on darker. But even just packing a little bit on, like, we're going to pack some more like right here. Like, it is buildable. It is buildable. This is a pretty shade. And so I'm glad that I did not purchase this palette like on its own. When I saw that it was chosen for me for the subscription box, I was just like, I don't want that palette. And then I looked at it in person and I'm like, you know what? Let's just put it on and see what happens. Now we're going to take this shade here, which is Maxi. And I didn't use this palette since that first look, the one look on each eye. This is a lighter tone of it, of that first shade. Because I'm not excited about it. But if I can get a look that I like, and then pulling in deeper shades from Xenon Yeah, these are not, they are different, but they're not that much different. It's just a lighter variation. So this is Jazzy on the outer corner, and this lighter tone right here is Maxi. So yeah, easy smoky look if you want. Put Jazzy all over the lid, or from outer corner to here, and then put this shade right here, Maxi, on the interior of the lid, and that can be like a very easy smoky look. No stress, no strain. That's why I like this formula, because to me it is really just easy to work with. And you see how that just went on. And so what I'm doing is I'm swiping 2 or 3 times, tapping off, and then just pressing and feathering it on, and like, look at it, it's there. You know what I'm saying? And so I love when formulas are easy to work with. And this is why when I'm working with a formula that I have to make it work, or I have to struggle to get it to blend, I'm like, I'm not really wanting to put that amount of work into it when I have shadows and formulas that I like that just work on their own and that are so easy to use. You see what I'm saying? Like the look is halfway done, and that took like how long? Not long at all. Would have been quicker if I wasn't talking. And also still feeling like I don't know what I'm doing. So me talking is distracting myself from wondering like, what is this look gonna look like? And you see how this is even blending inward. Like these shadows, y'all. Wow. So now we're gonna take Flare. We're gonna take this shade here, and I'm hoping it's not too bright for what these 2 tones are. So part of me is like, just take this one, but y'all know I kind of like dark. So yeah, we're going to just take Flare, and I do think it's going to be deeper than this look would call for. And so I'm also looking at this one here too. Oh gosh, this is why I usually plan out looks. We're going to go ahead and just take Flare, because that's what we said. So I don't, and I'm thinking not to, I'm thinking to take either Oz or, what is this called? Marlin. Is that what that says? Yeah. But we're going to take Flare, just cause. But I do think it might be too dark for what I want. But this being a fluffy-ish type brush, I don't know what finish this one is, because this one seems a little different. I'm noticing that this one it's picking up different, and it's looking a little chunky in the pan, and I am overlapping to just get our blend going with these 2, and this is not as dark as I thought it was. I'm wondering how old this palette is, because I don't know if you can see, but you see this texture in here? Like, why is that looking like that? You see how this one is smooth, this one is smooth, and then we're digging in this one, but you see how it has those little balls in it. So I'm just like, I will say this though, if I do think that this is an old palette, even though it's new to me, that's going to deter me from wanting to get it and mix it with the new one that I was telling you about earlier, because I don't deal with old shadows. I mean, if I really well, let me take that back. If I am just really enthralled with the color story, I will keep working it, but then at some point I'm like, okay, enough is enough. Like, this is old, the formula has changed, it's different. I have other stuff that hasn't changed and it works easy. But this will be a deterrent for me. And I do know that Retro Glam came out years ago. But because of, you know, the PAO and all of that stuff, you can keep stuff longer. But I'm just like, this didn't come out as dark as I thought it would. And this is kind of reminding me a little bit of a look from, well, not a look from, but a look that I could do with Martine Cosmetics 669 palette. So I'm just feathering over just to get this blend between these 2 shades. So this is not as dark as I thought it was going to show up. And for some reason I was thinking it was, because it does look, it looks more bold. But because 669 has those different blacks in it, and it has that red, which the red in that one is a matte. But I'm thinking like, so I do like this look. I'm not feeling like, oh my god, this is just something so revolutionary and unique, because I have done black and red looks before. But I mean, it's nice to know I can get it with this, but I'm really feeling like I'm not going to keep this palette now. I'm just like, we're going to take this one here, which is very icy. So I'm thinking this one now. So let's just do this one. Yeah, so this one is Oscar. So we're going to take Oscar. And this is a something brush. The font is in silver, and you see that the handle is silver, so it's hard to read. It's T37 is what this brush is. And so we're going to go into Oscar. I don't like how Flare, that reddish shade, picked up, because it just was not smooth. Like, you see how smooth this one is. It just went on very easy, very simple. This is one of her basic metallics, I believe. But Flare kind of has me questioning why that came out like that. So we're going to pull this here, and then we're going to go back to the brush that had Flare, and we're going to tap back in, because I didn't want that light shade over as far as I put it. So we're going to overlap and just tone that down a little bit. Yeah, this one is not, it's performing like it's old. Everything else in here so far that I use is really smooth, and that one is kind of chunking up. And it may be the formula of it, and or maybe an older palette too. So that just took all of Oscar away over here. Let me just bring this all the way into, this is the brush that had Flare on it. The brush with Oscar, not adding any more on it. We're just going to press. So from here I see it, but then at a certain angle I don't see it, which is okay with me. So that's going to be it for right there. I did pick up this Prime Cosmetics eyeliner. Can't tell what shade it is. I don't know what shade it is. I'm thinking it's blue. But we're going to put this on our lower lash line. I just remembered I didn't even finish my face. And I don't know if I am, because I did receive, it's just fitting that I'm using a Prime Cosmetics liner, because I did receive another package from them, and by the time she sent me the tracking number, it had already been in my mailbox like a week, my post office box. And so, but we're going to use that. I may do that video after this one, and so I'm thinking maybe that's why not to finish my face, but then I'm also thinking to finish it, because I've been using, well, before I got sick, I was using the Hourglass Tiger and Elephant palette a lot, and the Hmmmmm face structure palette, and I'm wanting to give my Haus Labs blushes, bronzers, and everything some more love, because they're expensive. The PAO is 24 months on those, and so I don't feel like, you know, I'm at a rush to use them, even though I do miss them, and I do like having those different color blushes, because then it's like whatever look I'm going for, I have one. Whereas the Hourglass blushes are pretty basic, just your basic blush shades, which is nice, because then you can just pick up any one almost and put it on if it suits your complexion and undertone, and just put it on and it works fine. But I'm going to take this brush here, and I'm thinking my skin is looking good. I really do like that Pat foundation. Yeah, this one right here, the texture in this one is off. And you can see how it's kind of balled up a little bit in here, and you have that shiny effect in there. And it's not hard pan. I don't think it's hard pan, but I'm trying to get the glares off and for you to still see what I'm talking about. Yeah, so this one right here, we're going to take, this is I believe this is a creamy matte, and that one's looking kind of funky too. You see how that, yeah, But we're going to we're just going to take this one and put underneath, which may or may not look funky. Like, I don't know why. This is definitely one of the creamy mattes, but it's just looking funky in the pan. So I want to say I will keep using this as long as it doesn't irritate my lids. But then I'm looking at it like something ain't right. And I know some people do, you know, just use stuff for years and years and years and years. Even if it's old or the formula has changed, they still use it because they like the looks that they do. But for me, when I do that, I feel like I'm forcing myself to keep using it when there's other stuff I know that doesn't perform old and the formula still performs like it did when I first opened it. And I want to enjoy what I'm using and not feel like I'm forcing myself to use something that I'm kind of questioning. So even though it's not irritating my eyes, I'm just like, is this really old though? And then do I want to keep using it until it irritates my lids? You know what I mean? I'd rather get rid of it before that time comes. So that's kind of where I am with that. I think this looks really nice. So now, okay, the eye look is done for the most part. What liner? Y'all, you know what? This is what I picked up and this is what we're going to use. This one is Fortune from Milk Cosmetics. And we're going to take a Milk Cosmetics eyeliner brush and we're going to put this on. Oh, you know what? I was thinking to pull in something from this one, but now I'm thinking not to because I do like the eye look, but it does look like something similar that I did before. Yeah, let's just go ahead and just do a little something. We're going to just take this black very lightly, or do we want to take the gray? We're going to take the gray. No, we're going to take the black because, just because. And I'm just going to very lightly just feather on the outer corner. So this is the easy way. So this is just it on its own. And that's with just a tiny bit of smoke. So if you just want a tiny bit of smoke, just lightly, very lightly feather. This is a fluffy brush. Just lightly feather. Oh my gosh. And this is what was making me think, do I want to get the midi size of this palette, depending on the formulas in the palette, because it being a predominantly dark palette, or at least it looks like half of it is dark, it would be easy for me to get the smoke that I like. That's nice. And this is why I purchased Xenon, and I believe I did get it on sale, was just to be able to grab it, you know, to deepen up any look. And if I wanted to do brow bone, even though this is borderline ashy on me in person, it's a little bit peachy, but I'm like, I don't always use a brow bone. Or if I wanted to use, you know, for inner corner, which I don't always do, which I did do today. So that's it for that palette. So this to me, Xenon is like very easy. Full price is 25 bucks. You got 5 shades. If they all suit you, perfect. If not, you know, finagle it, make it work, which is what I had to do. But I do like that palette, and because it is a small palette, it would be easy to travel with. It's easy for me to just keep, you know, on hand and not have to root through larger palettes, you know, to get a black or to get a smoke gray, because I do have blacks and grays. You know, I mentioned 669 palette earlier, but that's a large palette. And, you know, to have to dig that out, and it is bulky packaging, which I don't mind because I love how the packaging looks. It is unique to me for my collection to have a palette that looks like that as far as the packaging. But to have to take out a larger palette just if I want a black, I was like, And so when I saw Xenon and it was on sale, I'm like, I'll just get it. Because it's just easy to just pick up and just use. Even if it is for that one shade. And sometimes one eyeshadow is like 20 bucks. Max singles, if you get it in the compact, I think is $23. If you get the Pro Pan, it's $11. And so I thought, okay, $25, I have 5 shades, even though, you know, 2 of them look ashy on me unless I finagle it, it was still worth it to me to get it and to know, you know, I have a solid black and a gray shade that I can also use to smoke out looks. And so when I think of palettes to purchase, those are some of the things I think about. Now, if this was like a $50 palette or something, I wouldn't have gotten it just for 2 shades. But for the price and knowing what shadows do cost, like single shadows cost, it was worth it to me to do that. And I know I usually say, like, don't just buy a palette, you know, for one look. But again, this being a $25 palette, and there's definitely 3 shades I would use out of it, the black, the gray, and the silver. you know, I do feel like it was worth $25. And so when you're looking at palettes, think of what usage would you get out of it, and is it worth it for you? I'll put it that way. And even if it was a $50 palette, if you really just like that shade of black and that gray, then go for it. I don't recommend it, because then what about all the other shades that will go untouched or unused, or that you may feel like you have to make yourself use? But it's what you're comfortable with doing and what you're comfortable spending. And I am a fan of using an entire palette, even though for this one, I did use all the shades before. But I don't think, I just grabbed this. This is Violet Max Stack Mascara. So I'm not a fan of doing that, but there's usually exceptions to things. Not usually. Well, I guess for some people there's always an exception. But for me, I do try to be intentional with what I buy. And I do analyze my reasons. Not so much as to justify, but to really think, am I going to get my money's worth out of it? And so it may sound like I'm saying 2 different things or 3 different things, and maybe I really am. Bottom line is, if it's worth it to you, it's worth it. So that's all I'm going to say about that. I think I'm going to pick out a lip, and then thank you for being here with me for this. And I think I am going to go ahead and open that Prime Pometics package. I didn't look up prices. That means I'm going to look them up. But I'm going to click off my device and then click it back on and finish the face with that palette. I don't think so. You know what? I'm not going to do that, because I think I had picked some cream products, which I don't prefer, but I thought I would try, well, not try, because it was a success when I did underpainting before as a member request. And so I was thinking I would try underpainting, not try, but do underpainting again. And that's why I picked what I picked. So I don't know, but I'm thinking my face is looking good. Is it dry? For the most part, my skin is dried down. So that is this look. I'm going to just, whatever I touch, this is what I touched. This is Pretty Auburn, number 26. Sephora collection. Y'all, when I just be touching stuff, excuse me if you heard that in my throat, I just be like, let's just go for it, because then it's just simple too. I was hoping when I touched this it wasn't going to be like Sea Queen. Dark Forest might not have been bad. I was like, don't be Sea Queen, that mossy green with this eye look. But this goes. This goes. If you're curious about membership, the main perk for me is the member requests. You get to make a request and I do it. And that's your video. You know, and you get shout outs and all of that too. So there's a link if you want to see what the rest of the perks are. Y'all, I recommend these. You saw how easy that was to put that on. And I'm wondering, do I want to powder down? Do I want to do anything? I think we're just going to end it for this video. But I do kind of want to, yeah, I want to powder down because I want to use some Haus Labs stuff. Because I feel like I haven't used Haus Labs in a long time. And I'm having trouble pulling out. What did I touch first? Lavender Blonde. I did pull out the the Haus Labs loose setting powder that's in a Fashion Fair container, and I have a label telling me what it is. Haus Labs Bio Blurring Loose Setting Powder, and the shade is in Golden. And I only have one bronzer from Haus Labs and one highlighter, so we're going to use that in Lavender Blonde. This might go because of flare. Yeah, so let's just, I didn't pull out brushes for any of this. So we're going to put on the setting powder. So we're only going to do the setting powder just to make sure that the face is dry before we put on the other powders. and well, the blushes and not blushes, but blush, bronzer, and the highlighter. I still feel like I'm just a tad congested. I have been using my inhaler twice a day, which is how it's prescribed. It's a steroidal one, and it says on the packaging, like after you use the inhaler to rinse your mouth out. And so it's inconvenient. Like I do travel with it. So like if I'm going to be out late, because I use it twice a day, I just have to use it in the bathroom. So then I can rinse my mouth out. And that's because it is steroidal. And the rinse your mouth out is to get it out of your mouth. And so, but I'm kind of just wanting like a regular inhaler again. And I used to have a regular one. And this one, I don't know if this one was a rescue one or what. But then somewhere along the line, it just switched into just this one twice a day. And so I'm like, I'm not sure what's up with that. Because regular inhalers, the albuterol, you can just use it and just go about your day. Whereas with this one, then you got to rinse your mouth out afterwards. We're going to take the highlighter. We're going to use the same brush we used for the setting powder. This one is Golden Pyrite. And so we're just going to put that right there. I think this is so nice. Just a glow from within, which is the kind of highlighter that I like. Oh my gosh. I'm thinking I'm going to just be lazy and just use this brush for the the blush as well. And again, this is Lavender Blonde. So we're just going to just tap. I remember I was skeptical about this shade. I really like her formula. And it is buildable, as you see. And it is pretty. And it is playing off of Flare. So we're just going to just press twice. And we're just going to tap it. So you see how light it looks. And that's why I was like, I don't know how it's going to look. But then we're going to do it again. This is intense though. But then when you put it on and the way it blends out, it doesn't look that intense. But I didn't know, like, how is this going to look on me? We did the same thing. We tapped twice. And so it is buildable. And this is a fluffy brush. If you want more saturation, just use a more dense brush. But I really like this. I really do. I know y'all probably sick of me talking about it. I'm going to talk about the Snake palette again from Hourglass. Because I have 5 of the Haus Labs blushes. I'm like, there really isn't any, more blush shades that I could use. And because, not because of what I'm about to say, this is the Hourglass Medium Level 7. No, it's not. Haus Labs Medium Level 7 bronzer. We're going to use the same brush. And we're going to tap lightly because this does go dark. Because the Haus Labs, I have 5 of the blushes. There's a color for whatever look I'm going for. And with the Haus Labs, with the Hourglass, some of the shades do look similar. The blush shades do look similar. And I think because of how Hourglass is, the blush shades are not going to be, the 5 or 6 different shades that the Haus Labs blushes are. So for Hourglass, it is just more of the generic, the coral or the pinky or like that bronzy type blush. But it's not going to be a lot of variation compared to something like Haus Labs. And so I know that was one of the things is that the blushes look similar. And I think it's only really an issue if you have, I'll put a dark patch right there. If you have more than one of the Hourglass palettes, or if you have more than 1 or 2 of their blushes, because they do kind of just look the same because they're just kind of generic, run-of-the-mill blush shades. Whereas like Haus Labs, you have variety. And even with Fenty, with the cream blushes, you have variety. So I think it's just what you want. But I still do want the Snake, and I do think it may be similar to, we just took a little bit of the Haus Labs blurring powder using that same brush because I did a dark patch right here by mistake, and so we're just going to try to tone that down. but I know it will work for me. And it's almost like a no-brainer. Like either the elephant or the tiger, or if I get snake, if I put it on, it's going to look right. And so it takes the concern out of it for me on how something may look. So this is this look, y'all. This is this. We're going to, just because, we're going to take the Milk Hydro Grip Set and Refresh Spray. I'm really thinking I'm ready to let this go. Because when I put too much, it is too much, and it makes my face feel like it's going to crack, like once it dries down. And when I put too much, also, this area right here starts to get shiny, and so does my chin. But just doing a little bit that I just did like that, that's fine. But then there's times I go overboard. Like when I'm using the Fenty Baby What It Do. It's not even Baby What It Do. The What It Do mist, because it's so fine I can barely feel it. And so with that one, I'm just like, and so when I use the milk one, I forget and I just spray too much because I'm used to how finely misted the Fenty one is. I'm talking slow, y'all, because can y'all tell I'm like out of practice of doing videos. This is our look today. I am happy with it. I think Troll still got it. Let me know, do I still got it? This is my first full face look in over a week. And the video I did when I came back, it was just foundation. So this is the Retro Glam palette. This shade has me concerned. It's like, I mean, it showed up nice though, but it's still not as dark as I thought that it was going to be. I am glad that we added the black from Xenon on the outer corner. And so these shades I do like in this one because they're darker, but the rest of the palette is like, this may be a good blend out shade for me, not sure, because the tone of it, I'm kind of questioning it. This one would be a nice blend out, maybe borderline ashy, depending on where I put it, or the buff out lower lash line, that would work for that. So I am glad that we did use, you know, these shades here. And even this one, lower lash line, even though that does look really funky, like the texture of it is just looking different than how I'm used to her shadows looking. But it went on really well. I like the look. You saw how easy everything applied. If you have the Retro Glam palette, let me know what you think of it. And yeah, that'll just be it for this video. Everything else I used. If you have any of these products, let me know what you think of them. If you have sensitive lids, I still do recommend the NYX because they are very inexpensive. And I'm talking about retractable eyeliners. This one is nice. It doesn't irritate my inner rims or my lower lash line, and so that's why I kept it. But I don't use them much, only because number one, I can't always tell like what color it is, and it doesn't say. And so I would have to line it up between the other two to see like what color is what. Like right here I can see it's blue, but you see everything I had to do to see, you know, is it blue? And that was one of my pet peeves. This is the brown. That's easy to see. And I believe the other one is black. So if you put the black next to the blue, it's kind of like, what? And then it makes the blue almost look gray. But anyway, so I don't pull them often to use. And I have so many of the NYX ones, all different colors. And I have a few of the Sephora collection ones, which don't irritate my lower lash line or inner rims either. So, but those are my go-to. But you know, anyway, so that'll be it for this look. Let me know what you think. Thank you for being here for my babbling. I do think this was a good choice. A lot of stuff we picked at random. The lip at random, the eyeliner at random, the mascara at random. And I'm excited that everything worked. And so I'm really feeling good about that. I'm really liking how the foundation looks, and with the Estee Lauder concealer on top of that. And yeah, so I'm excited to be back, and yeah, I think I'm gonna do a look again tomorrow because I want to get back to Necromancy Cosmetica Swamp of Sorrows, because that palette hides from me and it deserves to be used and loved, and I feel bad that it keeps like disappearing and hiding from me. Anyway, I'm really gonna go. Thank you for being here. If you made it this far, click the thumbs up button or thumbs down button. If you've made it this far and you're not subscribed, I would appreciate it if you did. I would love for you to be a part of the Crazy Troll Nation. And as always, comments are welcome, of course. As always, self-acceptance, self-love, That is the Crazy Troll Nation way. Thank you, and you will see me soon.